Good evening, everyone. My name is Tanika Nicholas, and I'm the strategist for the Justice Reform Partnership at the Southern Center for Human Rights. And on behalf of the JRP, I would like to welcome you to our Talk Justice Tuesday series event, Avoiding Burnout, Surviving Triumph. This is our final Talk Justice Tuesday as part of our legislative series. This year, we had four series events that we hosted to the legislative session, and it's fitting that we're going to close out our legislative session with our surviving burnout. You know, this session ended last Friday, and it was a hard session. And when we were coming up with topics, we thought about how do we decompress. And one of the ways that sometimes we don't think about self-care. And Amari, our facilitator, we'll get into this a little later, came up with this topic, and I'm so glad that he did. But before we get into our presentation, I always like to share a little bit about our coalition if this is your first time joining us. The Justice Reform Partnership, we have a great coalition, a great network of 90 or more organizations and individuals. Our coalition is very unique. We offer a coalition of directly impacted leaders, community organizers, grassroots organizations, grass top organizations, just a great network of folks who are working for meaningful criminal, legal, and juvenile reforms here in the state of Georgia. Our Talk Justice Tuesday series events. We kick off during the legislative session in January. We run through the month of March to focus on legislative and policy changes that are happening at the Georgia State Capitol. We also try to center the voices of our folks who are directly impacted, justice impacted communities. We break down these complex policy issues that are happening, and we also offer avenues for policy changes and strategies for advocacy, and offer opportunities for intimate conversations like we're doing tonight for the public to get involved, or how we can have change. Um, One of the great things about our Talk Justice Tuesdays is that we make things more easier for the public. Tonight, our conversation, we're kind of letting our hair down. Some folks think that our session is short, but if you have to do work and go to the state capitol from January to March and do it day in and day out, it can be stressful, it can be tiring, and it takes a lot out of the folks who have to do it. I see my colleagues, do a lot of hard work, and I know I couldn't do it. I go down there a few days out of the session, and it's a lot. And so I commend my friends and my colleagues who do it on a daily basis. So I'm excited about what we're doing tonight. I'm excited about the experts who are going to give us some best practices and some tools of how we navigate doing this work. Although the session has ended, we know that it's just a pause, and in the next few months, we got to start it all over again. So tonight, our conversation is going to be facilitated by a good friend of mine and a colleague, Amari Fox, who is the community organizer from Deep Center. Amari is also our chapter lead for our Southeast chapter, JRP chapter in Savannah. But Amari is going to lead the conversation and guide us and introduce our panelists for tonight. Before we get started, though, we have a lot of panelists, and if you have questions specifically, we are asking for you to use the Q&A function on your devices. Ask questions. We'll have some time after the presentation for you to ask questions for our panelists, and or utilize the chat as well. So that's all I have. I'm going to turn it over to Amari. Amari is going to get us started, introduce our panelists, and guide our conversation into avoiding burnout and surviving triumph, and how we're going to navigate this space of self-care and how we decompress. So, Amari?
All right, thanks, Nikki.
All right.
So you are now rocking with Omari Fox. I'm a community organizer at the Deep Center. So I want to welcome y'all to the living room of WJRP Radio. So we're in the living room with some of the best I know. in the wellness game, folks who keep me balanced and keep me locked in. And a special friend is in the circle. I saw her as a student, and now she's a dancing mental health advocate, therapist, all-star model. So always good to see a full circle, especially watching young people grow up from my classroom days. So tonight we'll get a spiel from everybody about some best practices and some of their journey in working on some heavy work, and got a pretty varying panel. And I want to make sure there's time enough for some crosstalk and plenty of Q&A from the party people in the audience. So I'm going to begin with one of my poetry bandmates to give us a little grounding, who has an incredible voice and delivery and a storyteller. And she goes by the name of One More Poetic Soul, aka Monique Davis, in the building. So, Monique, let's get those words, sister.
Peace and grace, everyone. I hope everyone is safe in a positive state of mind. Um, when given a task, I wanted to be mindful of what I chose to share on tonight. Well, this evening, should I say, because it's still broad daylight and we still have the opportunity to see the sunshine. And I don't take it for granted. And I pass on to you not to take it for granted either, because even though we got some storms and some much rain going on, literally and figuratively, you still have to see the sunshine. So this is something that I was looking in some of my scriptings and was trying to think. I wanted to share something that could be a nugget to leave for everyone in the midst of all that is going on in the world, our communities, our society, in our households, everything. So here we go. So sometimes I don't feel like wearing my strength, wearing this garmented interior that adorns this shell that is expected of me, and two, what I know as well really does reside within me. Sometimes in times like these, I transparent enough with myself to admit to myself that strength is a little heavy at times. Feels like MAC makeup carefully brushed and applied to my very being, and I'm simply can't wash it away, can't wash it off. Don't get me wrong, I'm glad I don't look like how I truly feel at times, but Lord knows the weight of this painted attire is a jacket I simply gotta hang up. Not give up, but for real, grace myself the truth of how I feel. Be real with and about my insecurities. Express my fears and doubts, and oh my, as I pull off the long johns of loveless jonesing, I'm actually loving myself. Being real with me and releasing all toxins I've been building up, and I'm exfoliating my soul's soul. And I'm peeling away some mental flaps of film that need not disintegrate but need to fall away, leaving no residue. My pour has been polluted with hyping me up when I simply needed to release unapologetically. So yeah, I got strength hanging in the door. Been steamed, pressed, and aromatized with some wisdom and divine solutions. So when it's time to suit up, I can slide into my strength. And it fits my body and soul like a glove and aligns my mind with the shielded guidance of grand glory. Undressing my mind and removing my thoughts never felt so good and never smelt more empowering. My last words that I can say on this evening is no matter what we're going through, sometimes it's instilled in us and it's been pushed in us and forced on us that we always got to be so strong. And there's nothing wrong with strength, but sometimes we need to take it off just so we can work on our minds and our spirits and our bodies as well, so we can realign and re-equip for that which is assigned in duty to each of us. So peace and grace to each and every one of y'all on this evening.
All right, in the poetry world, we do our snaps. Yeah, yeah. All right, Monique, before you get in chill mode, let the people know who you are, who your people are.
My name is Monique Davis, by way of the PD. I am a poet, author, spoken word artist, also a lover of words. I feel like there's always the avenue of expressing, if it's not only just to uplift, release, or heal self, it's also something that we can pass on as writers and poets, pass on to others, that there's always a healing in writing. There's always a power in the voice that we put behind our words, and that whether we're here or whether we're gone, those words will last and live forever.
Yeah, thank you, sister.
Much love.
All right. Next up on the roll call, we go back probably 20-ish years, maybe. I'm not sure how long it's been, but Jacqueline of all trades, uh, a friend to the people, a realtor, a Renaissance woman, et cetera, et cetera. Y'all show your love for Melinda's song outfit. Let the people know who you are, who your people are, what you do.
Thank you very much, Omari. I appreciate you. I think we have been, I think it was what, 2012, around 2011, 2012, when we met in the poetry world. So I met Omari as a poet. And I'm truly thankful for being here. I thank you for inviting me because I know that you've seen my growth in the many things that I've done, which is why you're calling me the Jacqueline of all trades. I'm a licensed real estate agent, licensed esthetician, certified meditation and yoga instructor. And I just enrolled in school. I'm in nursing school right now. So I'm balancing a lot of things in life right now, but I'm not overwhelmed. And so I think that that's one of the things that Omari wanted me to talk about. But that's basically, who I am. I'm a mother, a grandmother, fiance. So I have a lot of things going on, but I'm not stressed out at this moment. I couldn't say that probably about 3 or 4 years ago. But today, I can say today that I'm able to do all these things on my own terms, in my own condition.
All right, welcome aboard. Good to see you again.
Thank you. Same here.
All right, next up, we got Benedict College in the building. We're going to go with Brother Calvin Graham. Let the people know who you are, who your people are, who you rep.
Hey family, how you guys doing? Happy Tuesday. I'm super excited to be here. Like Amari said, my name is Calvin Graham, and I'm a relational therapist. And I'm here representing Jefferson Wellness and Consulting with my beautiful partner in crime tonight, De'Arion. We'll give her a space to introduce herself as well. But super excited to be thought about in these spaces. I know that there are conversations that we consistently have within the therapy room or the confines of the therapy room, and also conversations that's being had in barbershops and different spaces. But it is time for us to have conversations together. Sometimes we feel a little disjointed, but I'm just super grateful to be able to come today and be able to share some of the things that the community is talking about, and also being able to listen and kind of give help where I can, and also be helped where I can. So just super excited to be here.
Here, welcome aboard. All right, next up, we got Chantilly Toodle. So I'm just met this sister at a program he hosted a couple months ago called This Woman's Worth. And she just happened to be in the building and connected, learned about all the great work she's doing in her journey. So Chantilly, let the people know who you are.
Hello, everyone. Thank you, Omar, for having me as a panelist. I basically love to join in beauty, make a connection between beauty and healing. I'm a licensed cosmetology instructor and locally here in Columbia, South Carolina. I'm also a medical esthetician and a combat vet. So I know about balance and feeling overwhelmed. And so I like to try to connect that beauty and healing all in one.
All right. Welcome. I don't want to mess up your name, D, so I'm gonna just say D.
It's
So let the
Hey.
people know who you are.
Hi, everybody. I'm happy to be here with everybody. My name is Dee Ariane. The people call me Dee. The kiddos call me Dee. I'm a play therapist. So I work with kids. And I'm also a PhD student at the University of South Carolina. I'm representing Jefferson Wellness and Consulting along with Calvin. So I'm super excited to be here to soak up some knowledge, to increase community, and to also just share a little bit of like my wisdom and my experience as being a therapist and from the kids' perspective. So I'm super excited to be here. Thank you guys for allowing me space to be present with you guys. And yeah, that's pretty much it about me. Thank you again.
All right. Yeah. So next up, as I said earlier, this is a full circle moment for me. When I was teaching high school in Carolina, we had this program called Freestyle Friday. So it's basically open mic and art class, and it just took over the whole school. And one of the superstars that emerged and still doing the thing, thank goodness, is Blair Thomas, and I'm gonna let her tell her story and intro. Go ahead, Blair.
Hi, everyone. Again, yes, my name is Blair. And yes, you're still Mr. Fox to me. I can't call you Amari yet. I had to get used to it. But yeah, Freestyle Friday was a thing. That's when I kind of walked into my dancing because I was pretty quiet, but not when I'm dancing. But now, some odd years later, I'm not going to say, um, I'm now an outpatient adult therapist at Peter Mental Health in Hartsville. Um, I'm actually a student. I'm getting my PhD at Capella online. Um, I'm LPCA. I'm almost done. I'm like a month out with getting my supervision hours so I could be fully licensed. Um, and I'm also a dialectical behavior therapist. Work with individual with borderline personality disorder. Now I'm getting back into not really getting back into. I'm starting this new journey with modeling now just last year. I just wanted to get my groove back because I'm a mama too. So I was like, let me try this little modeling thing a little bit, but it's taking off some unexpectedly. So I'm loving it. I'm also a certified life coach. Um, let's see what else yeah, that's about all for right now. I'm all for relationships and learning because change is always constant. If you get too comfortable, we shouldn't stay stagnant. It's always the place to grow at, learn at. And I'm all for that. It's better to be a community than competition. So we need a village too.
Yeah, well said. Well said. Good to see you, sister. All right. Next up is another friend I met on the scene from hosting barbershop community conversations, and we did a public health episode one time. So I wanted to make sure we honored nutrition, and she works around a lot of different things. So I'll let her tell it. So yeah, go ahead, Natalie. You have the floor. Go for it.
Hello, my name is Natalie Copeland, and as Amari said, yeah, I've worked around a whole lot of things. Um, I feel like this is a good tribe because it seems like a lot of you also wear a lot of hats. Um, and during the day, as they say, my full-time job, I work at one of the hospitals over the cancer registry department. And what that is we collect the cancer data on the patients diagnosed and treated at our facility. Um, Cancer is making a headway as far as survivorship, but we are still growing in numbers of new cases diagnosed every year. Um, we probably, I think, collected data on it was over 3,100 new cancer patients first seen at our facility in 2023. We seem to grow up, 500, maybe even 1,000, like every year. So that's my day job. And then as far as the nutrition goes, I also lead coordinate the diabetes support group for the hospital. It's called D2 and Me. And it was just a support group that I got started because I had questions. I couldn't remember things that I had learned from the dietitians. And it was suggested, well, then you start your own. And eventually I did. And we've been going strong for, this is our 11th year now. And it is good to, really help people in the community. We get a lot of referrals actually from the physician offices about the support group, which is a good thing. And so that keeps me busy. And then my regular other job that I do is work as the owner of Flavored Fork, as you see behind me there. What I do is mobile cooking instruction. So I'm a mobile cooking teacher, and I mainly work with children. I participate in the 21st Century Grant Program for Richland School District 2. And I serve 3 schools there, and I'm busy with them Monday through Thursdays every week from 4 to 5. And it's all about teaching the kids how to make healthy choices, learn to make healthier swaps, learn more about fruits and vegetables, eating fresh and things like that. And also empowering them to be able to fix these snacks and lunches and dinners at home by themselves. If you're a latchkey kid, we don't want you to try to walk to McDonald's or have your parents drop you off at McDonald's and get something. Know when you're home that you can actually fix your own healthy snack. Today in our class, we did Greek yogurt, which was vanilla Greek yogurt with a warm berry sauce. So they actually got to stir some food around today. And then it was just berries, a little bit of lime juice, a pinch of sugar, and you put it on top of the yogurt. And they loved it. So it's, good that several of them want to make that, like I said, when they get home, they thought it was a good dessert even. So it's things like that that make me enjoy working with Flavor Fork, doing that kind of thing. Like I said, I'm busy pretty much all the time doing something.
All right. Welcome, Natalie. Always good to see you, friend.
Thank you.
All right. Last but not least in our roll call, my favorite life coach and yours, Renaissance woman as well. Does a number of things in authoring, so I'll let her tell a story. I'll show you love for Shannon, and then Shannon, you can segue into your spiel. Well, I'll prompt you, but just do your intro for now.
All right. Cool. I am honored to be with y'all. What an amazing group of people. My name is Shannon Ivy, and I am a recovering theater professor and now an ICF certified professional coach, which I've been doing for about 5 years. I come to this space humbly as a person who is a cancer survivor. And so I joke that people coach with me to avoid burnout or recover from burnout. Because, when I was diagnosed way back in 2016, I'm okay. I'm an NED, which is no evidence of disease. I'm sure you've heard that before. I'm about a 9-year survivor. When I was diagnosed the day before Trump was elected, I had a lot to learn about a lot of things, including how did I get here without, making it be my fault, but also noticing Chadwick Boseman was diagnosed same stage, same type of cancer. So now why in 2025 am I here and he's not? This makes no sense. We should both be here. And so I recently signed a book contract with the University of South Carolina Press for my medical memoir that's coming out in 2026. So that's really exciting. It's got a lot of public health data in it, and it's about that journey. But I think I'm here to share with you a tool, the exact tool that saved my life. Would that be okay if I shared that with you?
All right. Yeah, and just a little housekeeping. So I know you may have to leave early, and Natalie, so I'll have you go first, and then I'll pass it to everybody. So go ahead.
Cool. Let's see if I can share it with you. I would love for you, if you're okay to play with me, would you put in the chat if 1 was like, I'm good. No, really, I'm good. But 10 is like dumpster fire. I'm so glad I've now met 3 new therapists. Where would you be today? While I'm pulling up this little picture, I'm going to try to share with you. Scale of 1 to 10. 10 is dumpster fire. 1 is like, for real, I'm okay. Where are you today? Because I got to tell you, helping professionals like yourselves, we don't often walk the talk. We tell people, oh, you should take a nap, right? You should, feed yourself some delicious foods. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to get this little picture up, but I'm gonna try. how am I going to get through this difficult, whatever it is? I just put it in the chat for everybody so you can see it. All right. Yes, it moves around. A lot of you are doing really well. Thank you for your honesty, those that put something over 5, because a lot of what we often do is it's hard to recognize, like, do you remember from like 5th or 6th grade, Sisyphus that like carried the rock on his back up the hill and he could never get any slide back down? You know, that's kind of a good metaphor for a lot of what we do. I'm at the State House in South Carolina a lot, fighting very similar things that y'all are fighting. And it just seems like it is relentless. And at the same time, people are throwing us like self-care and chocolate. It feels really silly. Like we're trying to keep people alive. And you want me to what, put cucumbers on my eyes? But here's the thing. I know for personal sure, had I not checked in with myself on my birthday in 2016, I would not have caught the cancer before it was stage 4. I was diagnosed late stage 3. So I have this practice, kind of like a New Year practice, but I do it like that 1 to 10. So I'm going to show you how to do it so you can do it yourself. I want to introduce you to the 8 dimensions of wellness. This, I did not make this up. I am sure a brilliant therapist or social worker found it, but I use it for a check-in. And so in this 8 dimensions of wellness, I take myself, and I'm just going to like tell you how to do it. You can do it on your own if it feels good to you. I take myself through like a 10-minute check-in. I know that sounds like a lot, but I'll check in like, all right, emotional wellness. For me, that's like, how well am I handling the stress? Am I sleeping? Am I able to like put it down and rest? That lets me know. I'd like to know for you, do you have something about you emotionally that you're like, oh, I'm not handling all this real well? For me, if I lose my sense of humor, if I am no longer funny at all, I need to go get in a bathtub. I need to take a long walk. I need to turn my computer off. I need to hug a friend. I have things I know I need to do, but if I lose my sense of humor, ooh, my emotional wellness is not good. How about you? Occupational wellness. As we move through this, I'm just going to hit them a little lightly. I want you to look for, if you're able to, look for one area that you're like, I'm going to make a commitment to myself to work on that. Whichever area this is. Occupational wellness. That's hard for a lot of us because your jobs involve stress and they involve dealing with extremely stressful legislation and helping our community. So obviously, occupational wellness, do you have what you need at work? Do you need to have a conversation with someone above you in hierarchy to get more support, supplies, maybe access to wellness benefits? What do you need at your occupation and what you're doing to do it well, to feel supported? Again, 1, we're great. 10, dumpster fire. Intellectual wellness. We as helpers pour so much out that often we don't pour in intellectually. And maybe what that is like, maybe you just want to go listen to music, or you want to put something new in your brain, or you want to pick up a hobby that has nothing to do with your work or the community. Maybe you just want to read a book about cross stitch. Who knows? What are you putting in this brilliant brain of yours so that you can give at the level you're giving? Environmental wellness, that is literally around you, your house, where you work. Is the noise low so you can sleep when you need to? What is the area around you? 1 to 10. 10, we're good. 10, dumpster fire. 1, we're good. Financial wellness is something that I'm really thinking about that a lot right now with all the job losses and people's watching their 401ks and just concern for the financial future. So this is something that may not feel as good as it normally does or is settled, but a part of it's like, what could I do? What's one tiny thing I can do? For me, I'm just like, I'm not looking at that number over there where the 401k is. That's not helpful. What can I do? Well, if I'm worried about money, I can sort of go through what I spend and I can think, oh, maybe I want to cook at home or find a night I could cook with friends instead of going out to eat. or change how I'm spending my money, like not going to Target. Not that we're all doing that. Social wellness, this is very important right now. I'm curious about y'all. When you socialize, is it for work or is it for your heart? Do you have social groups that pour into you as much as you pour into them? Do you have someone that you can really let your hair down with and really tell the truth and show up as your authentic self without having to take care of them? Social wellness. Physical wellness, that's one that I've been working on since the cancer diagnosis. So how are you taking care of this body that your heart is walking around in, and your brilliant mind and your spirit? How are you reminding yourself that this flesh needs hydration and maybe a vegetable? How are you walking around in this body? Maybe you've decided to wear tennis shoes to take care of your feet. Maybe you've decided to start taking walks with friends instead of watching Netflix when you get home. I don't know. What does your body need? Your body will tell you. Spiritual wellness, very personal. I like to also think of creativity as spiritual wellness. So how am I feeding my spirit and what I'm creating in the world? That could even be with a therapist or a coach, or going to poetry and maybe writing after you go to a poetry event. How are you taking care of your spirit? And those are the 8 dimensions. I'm curious about you. For you, which of these 8 dimensions is nearing more dumpster fire than you really want it to be right now? If you pick just one that you could take a tiny, tiny action. I know, Monique, let me see. I'm gonna try to send it to you. I put it in the chat, the little wheel. So if you're still in the chat, if you're still with me, which one of the dimensions sounds like something you're like, I could make a commitment to myself? Physical, yep. Brilliant. Every year, I do this once a year. You don't have to pay a coach for this. You can literally do this for yourself. And I recommend doing this for yourself and then take it one more step. Pick a place. I'm like, ooh, you know what? It's my social wellness. I'm needing to change how I'm socializing because my tools just aren't working. I used to go hang out at the trivia, have a glass of wine, hang out. That's just not working for me anymore. So how do I want to change for me my social so that it feels like it's feeding me where I need fed? How about you? Financial being a college student is not for the weak. No, but there are things you can do as a college student to set yourself up for financial freedom in the future. So these like tiny little steps, it actually does this lovely thing for your brain. I don't know, my therapists are in the room. I'm not a therapist, but a part of it's like, oh, wait, I am a grown-up. Even if I'm a college student, PhD student, I'm a grown-up. I can make tiny little tweaks that only I know I need. And when I do that for myself, then I'm like, oh, I'm worth it. And honestly, y'all, I just keep hearing this thing as I was preparing for today for y'all. I'm like, your work, you know how important your work is. You know we need you. You know that you're frontline people, and we know you're exhausted. Like all of us, we're like looking at each other, you okay? You okay? At the State House, you okay? But really, what's one tiny thing you can do so that you can keep showing up at the level that would make you feel so proud? You're like, I know this work is hard, but Omari, I'm going to take a nap. So that's the 8 dimensions of wellness. I hope maybe you've made a commitment to do one tiny thing for yourself. I want to recommend one book. It is currently checked out. If you're in Columbia, South Carolina, where I am, sorry, I have it checked out. It's called The Nap Ministry. Have you Rest is Resistance? Do you know that book yet? Oh, I highly recommend it. Highly recommend it. So that's my offering and gratitude for all that y'all are doing in the world. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you, Shannon, for always looking out for us, especially me. I appreciate you. All right. Next up, I know Natalie got to get out of here soon. So let me ask you a question.
Yes.
So for us, we work around pretty heavy issues most of the time. And just like the length of legislative session and like a law gets through, it doesn't. A lot of us are on the run. So what would you say maybe the nutritional effects on us, just as advocacy in our line of work? Like, what would you say be a couple best practices, or like for a lot for me, I'm always on the run and
Yeah.
trying to do better. But a couple of tips around that maybe.
I would say when I work with adults, the things that I try to get them to do, especially like with the diabetes support group, is to, one, don't say I can't eat because I'm too busy, because I used to say that. Learn to do meal planning and meal prepping. That is important. If you're on the go a lot, you need to take a day and get some meals planned and prepped out so that you can take that and run with you wherever you go. Stuff that can be eaten at room temperature if necessary. If you have refrigerator work, take stuff you can put in the refrigerator and the microwave. If you drive trucks or things like that, my husband bought these little containers that you could actually plug into your cigarette lighter and it warms your food up while you're driving. So there's other avenues for that. Also, wherever you are, you could always drink water. Water is very important to our well-being. Staying hydrated is always important. So I always tell people, keep water bottles with you. It's starting to get hot again, so get the insulated ones that can keep your drinks cool all day. That is what you need. And then wherever you can get involved, of course, in addition to stay away from the fast foods, again, take your food with you. Wherever you can get involved, because like right now we're things where prices may go up with insulin for people who are on diabetes. Somebody's got to speak out. Where the prices of food are going up. A lot of people, thank you, will be saying they can't afford, healthy foods. A lot of people were saying that before. But you got to look at the price of things if you're buying it in bulk or at least larger quantities. If you do the math, that's going to be less expensive than buying small containers, say, of Chobani yogurt. Get a big container of the no-name brand. Turn it around, look at the label, see how much sodium is it compared to a name brand. See how much sugar's in it compared to a name brand. A lot of time, no name brands are going to be cheaper than what you normally would get. So make the time, prep your meals, and like you said, get out there and help advocate for some of these changes that are coming down the pike so we can stay healthy.
Yeah, thanks, Nat. I know you got to hustle. I really appreciate you coming on and
All
sharing
right, I
with
appreciate it.
us. Mhm.
I
All
appreciate
right.
it.
All right. Next up, we are going to go to Chantilly. Just tell us about your work, how you pour into people, and how you maintain a balance. Keep your personal peace as well.
Sorry, hello. For me, beauty is very important because sometimes we can feel overwhelmed, but having a new hairstyle, getting some makeup, getting your nails done, some of those self-care things can help you feel better once you get up and do those things. Personally, I've suffered from depression or PTSD from my combat experience. So beauty kind of rescued me, being able to pour into other people and just seeing how they light up when you service them and everything. I try to stay, people say booked and busy. I like to stay booked and balanced because as a beauty industry professional, people do tend to talk to you like a therapist. So I pour into them and share my story of how I have healed. And I think healing takes place when you take care of yourself and make yourself feel better about yourself and how you're conducting yourself in everyday life. So aside from doing, self-care like facials and things like that and manicures and pedicures, it's not just about the beautiful aesthetics. If you think about like life in general, it could be art through poetry like Monique shared with us, those different things. That's how I tie beauty into wellness and wholeness because I know that I can't pour from an empty cup. I'm currently an instructor, and in the life skills portion, I always tell my students about how if you have a bank account, if you're constantly making withdrawals, and then you're not putting any deposits in, eventually you're going to be at a deficit. So you can't pour from an empty cup. And sometimes we get wrapped up in the different titles that we wear and the different credentials that we have, and then we forget about ourselves. So you want to be balanced, and you have to pour into yourself and pour into other people as well. So some of the ways that I've done that, I like to get out in nature. Aromatherapy is really well. Like Melinda was talking about, getting into she's a yoga instructor and meditation instructor. Those things are very well to go along with the beauty and health and wellness industry. And those things help to keep you balanced as well and bring your focus back to yourself. So I like to engage in those things. Frequency sounds have really helped as well. And therapy has helped too. So I know there's a stigma about therapy in a lot of different cultures and communities, but therapy is very important. Sound healing, you can do that as well in different frequency sounds. So that's how I pour into and give back by expressing beauty and helping other people feel beautiful. And even so, not so beautiful situations, helping them hunt the good stuff and have them activate their resiliency.
All right. So quick question for you. What was like your first 1-2 step to kind of deal with your PTSD? Like how did you get on that road?
I got on that road because I realized that after joining the Army at 17 years old from a small town, and I'm a country girl, and so we're often taught to take care of our neighbors, take care of our families, and put other people before ourselves. But I had to realize that tucking and sweeping things under the rug is not going to help you, and eventually you have the skeletons. One day you're going to open the closet, and they're all going to fall out, and you're going to have to deal with it and clean it up. So I started reflecting inwardly. I mostly started with meditation and frequency sounds. I also have changed the way I eat because what we eat also affects our moods and everything as well.
Well said, absolutely. All right, I think you are a perfect segue to Melinda. So, as I said before, I know you're a Jacqueline of all trades. You do a number of things, but tell us your process. Like, how do you keep it together, and
Oh,
how do you pour into others as well?
okay. Well, before I do that, I do have to acknowledge and give a shout out to Miss Chantilly because she's an instructor at the school that I did attend. She was not my instructor personally, but I can attest to what she's saying as far as pouring into people because she was not my instructor, but we would have these little tasks we'd have to do at school, like wash the towels and fold them up and clean our brushes and stuff. And she just came from out of nowhere one day, and she was just complimenting me on how I was folding those towels. It made me feel so good. I fold them a little faster, you know. So her taking that time, you know, and it wasn't her being funny. She was really acknowledging how good of a job I was doing, making sure that the towels were folded. And so it's the little things. So I do have to say that she is very empowering. Okay, now listen, I have adult, you know, ADD. What was your question again? Because we're gonna keep it real on here, right? What was your question again before I got to talking?
Yeah. Well, being a Jacqueline of all trades, like share a little bit of insight into some of your wellness practices, especially for
Okay.
us like working around really like heavy issues. We're all pretty much empaths and such.
Right. So, you know, and this is just keeping it real with everybody and just being who I am. You know, the number one thing about all the things that I'm able to do, and I said I'm balanced and I have peace, is separation. So that's number one. Separation. I make it a point to weigh out my relationship equity. You know, are the people around me, are they adding or multiplying, or are they subtracting or dividing? That was the number one because I found myself to be a host for people because I am a giver, but then there are also takers. And so, you know, the biggest thing is making sure that my relationship equity is balanced. If your relationship equity is not balanced, there is no peace because now you have people pulling from you in places that you cannot give. You know, I make sure that I align with the frequency that I'm supposed to align with because if you don't align with the frequency you're supposed to align with, there's going to be guaranteed friction. So that's number one for my peace and balance. Number two is I do the things for me that make me feel good. Yes, I have a family. Yes, I have friends. I love everybody. But if I'm not right, nobody else can be right. That's number one. So I think that one of the things, I was watching a movie, and one of the most powerful things that I think I've ever heard in a movie was that the fear of offending is greater than the fear of death. And like that really sat with me. The fear of offending, like you'd rather die than say no. You'd rather die than tell someone I can't do it, you know. I also confused I used to think I was an extrovert, but then I realized, as the poet said, I had to start being real with me. I'm not really an extrovert. What I was looking for was, how can I say this? I was looking for approval. And so in order to get approval from people, it required me to constantly be and do things that I did not have the capacity to do mentally or physically. You know, so once I learned that, okay, well, Melinda, like you're not really an extrovert, you know how to operate in these spaces, but once you stop seeking approval from people, you'll stop putting yourself in spaces you don't belong, because that's what I was doing. I was putting myself in places I did not belong. So that was the biggest thing. And then I started doing things like, the way that I ended up with all these certifications that I have is I'm like, okay, you know what? I need to do yoga. Boom. I'm going to become a yoga instructor, because that's going to force me into a position to start practicing yoga for myself. Oh, you know what? While I'm here, let me become a meditation instructor. Oh, you know what? We're in tough times. I don't know about anybody else, but after the pandemic hit, like I felt like I lost myself. I actually felt like I was losing my mind. I was so busy doing other things for other people and doing things that I felt was rewarding and satisfying, that when the pandemic made me sit down, I felt like I had nothing. So everything that I had built was actually defined on everybody else. So as I started getting back mentally, coming back to myself mentally, I realized that, you know what, Melinda, you have to start doing things for you. I personally, for me, don't believe that there is a work-life balance. That's just me. I prioritize the things that need to be on top, and the things that don't get done, they just don't get done until I get it done. You're right. So once I started figuring those things out, like I said, the pandemic just put me in a place. But once I started figuring those things out, I just made it a choice. It's a decision that you make. You wake up every day. Every day you got a choice. And I just made a decision to start doing the things that I wanted to do for me. I want to go to school. I wanted to become an esthetician. I woke up one day, I said, you know what? I'm going to be an esthetician. I said it, I believed it, and then I did it, right? Woke up one day while I was in esthetician school, said, you know what? When I'm done with aesthetics, I'm going to nursing school. I said it, I believed it, and I'm doing it, right? Because when I do these things for me, everybody around me benefits. I stopped doing things for everybody else to benefit, thinking that I was going to benefit from it, because I wasn't. And I just started doing the things for me that I felt like would benefit me, and then everybody else gets the overflow. So those are just some of the things, again, that I practice when it comes down to peace for myself. I disconnect from people, again, that subtract. And then to nutrition, I make sure I watch what I eat so that I can function and do these things that I want to do. I had high blood pressure. I don't have high blood pressure anymore. I was pre-diabetic. I'm not pre-diabetic anymore, because there's a lot of work that I want to do. And I understand that in order to get these things done, I have to take care of myself, and I have to put my body in a position to be able to do the things that I want to do that are necessary. So some things are about sacrificing, like what are you willing to sacrifice in order to have that peace? Somebody's calling me, in order to have that peace. But that's it's nothing fancy that I do. There's nothing big that I do. Every day I just know that I have a choice to get things done. And again, if it doesn't multiply and add to my space, it doesn't belong there. And I remove it. As simple as that.
All right. Well said. Well said. Thanks. So
Mhm.
stay tuned. We're gonna circle back to you.
Okay.
All right. Next up, we have Calvin, and I know well all the actually the next three folks are all therapists coincidentally. So I guess the question for all of you would be, as empaths, how do y'all draw the line from your work, and then like still keep your spirit and your energy up, just depending on the nature of what you're walking people through.
I think that it is important to be empathetic to where people are, right? I also know that emotion fatigue is a real thing. So it is important to find your peace, whatever that looks like. Like for me, it is like somatic grounding or movement, dancing. It is music, it's journaling. It's also me going to therapists. I always tell people don't trust a therapist without a therapist. So even in session, I'm like, okay, your grand therapist taught me this sometimes. So it's important to give back to the profession as well. And also, it's important to, there is no therapy without some level of social justice. Um, a couple of things. This has been like so beautiful just to hear everybody speak. Um, I am kind of like Melinda. I don't know if balance exists. I think that we strive for balance, but I think that I don't know if it's an actual thing. And then also going back to what Chantilly was talking about, and even like with trauma as an experiential therapist, I believe that trauma doesn't live in the event, but it lives in what the body was forced to hold on to. So it is important to find different ways of allowing your body to speak to you because your body will always remember. But saying all of that, so that's kind of my thought process as it relates to me and finding my center. Also, for the other therapists, supervision, but supervision isn't therapy. That's important to say. But also finding your center. And it's hard. I think somebody said it's about pouring from an empty vessel. It's not our job to be all knowing. It's not our job to be all seeing. It's our job to be all listening. It's our job to be able to listen. It's our job to be able to empathize. It's our job to be able to sit with people in the middle of their pain. And also with me, relational therapists, family therapists, to sit with families in their pain. People are hurting right now. Transgenerational trauma is still a big thing in our family system and in our Black community. Let's not even talk about the political landscape of what's going on. Families are hurting. Families and marriages are hurting. You know, People are married to, they voted for one person, the other person voted for another thing, and it's tearing them apart. So we not only need to encourage people to find therapists, but it's important to find community. And it's important for us to get outside of our respected buildings and do something not only for ourselves, but for our neighbors as well. Thank you. Thank you.
Well said.
Those
Well
people know
said.
like Calvin's real chill today. I'm not just wanted to be professional.
Nah, all to the good. Nah, thanks for that. I'm gonna segue to your colleague, and we did have a question in the chat about like specific resources. So the question is, I just want everybody to kind of meditate on it, but it is, aside from the 8 dimensions of wellness, are there any other tools or websites to help juvenile justice and frontline professionals assess their needs and bolster their balance and prioritize prioritize life? This is Janesta. I hope I'm saying the name right. I work in the juvenile justice field and would love to provide some tangible resources to the staff. So, I'm not sure if you said you worked with youth.
I do. Sorry.
Hmm. But yeah, just give your
Yeah.
spiel and then you can offer from there. Go ahead.
Yeah. So my question was around like how are we going to be able to like develop a trauma exit strategy? And I just wanted to talk a little bit about what trauma looks like as it looks differently across the scales. And so when we think about like a trauma exit plan, it's like how can we create and develop a way to like notice certain triggers and notice what creates like a fight or flight and like a traumatic incident. Even when you're working with like clients as well, there's certain things that we realize that our body is feeling a little bit funky as a therapist when we work with certain clients. And it's not because like we have something that is triggering like us from them, but more so like the content of what's being presented. Like maybe there's like a traumatic thing and you feel for them as a client, as a counselor and as a clinician. And so there's a lot of different like triggers that can be heightened in therapy. And as a result of that, your mind and body kind of like coexist and it shows up in therapy. So I guess like what your question and what I'm hearing is that what are some ways that I kind of assist with implementing like the trauma exit strategy for me or for like clients? Which one?
I would say maybe answer from both lenses. Just
Okay.
what you could share.
Yeah. All right, perfect. Yeah. So the huge thing for me, and I work with kids a lot. So I'm a play therapist. I work with kids. My youngest has been 3, and I work with adolescents. So play is a huge thing. The idea of play therapy, child-centered play therapy is like a huge thing for me because a lot of people don't understand like play therapy is a huge way for us to meet a child where they are. And trauma shows up in play often, all the time. And so that's important for like parents to also acknowledge when I'm working with their kid because sometimes they're like, well, they're too young, like they don't understand, like they don't get it, right? And so what happens is that it shows up in their behavior. Same thing as adult, like with adults. And you have to know how trauma is bought out and is characterized amongst your clients. That's a huge thing. So noticing how trauma pops up for them is really important because trauma can look differently for anyone across the board. So that could be like culture, that could be systemic oppression, family. How is trauma even like bought up in family? How is it even characterized from gender roles, societal values? So you're putting that all into perspective when you're creating an exit strategy plan for your client. And the first thing that I do is like recognize where the trauma is, like where is it coming from, and let's kind of like sit with it and figure out like what are some ways that when we are triggered by these certain experiences, what can we do to not take ourselves out of it, but to help us kind of like mitigate through it. So that's pretty much like what I do to help them, like recognizing their triggers. Where do they feel it at? Do they feel it in their body? Do they feel it in their chest? Like, like how how frequently do you feel these triggers? And sometimes triggers can show up in the way that you are engaging with like family members, engaging with like at a workplace environment, engaging with partners, engaging with friendships. Like all of that is really important because sometimes I think trauma gets misconstrued as like it has to be something traumatic that can happen, or like it has to be something like life-changing or life-threatening. But traumatic experiences also comes from like poverty, not being able to have resources, and as a result you have to like shift from like fight or flight. You have to be on go all the time. So like noticing what trauma is defined from your client is super important when developing a safety plan, because what we may think like mindfulness, right? Like, okay, like if you just sit here and be present and you like meditate, that doesn't work for every client. That could set them back into like a heightened like traumatic experience that increases their fight or flight even more. So we just need to make sure that we're defining what trauma is for them and not what we think trauma should be defined by for them. So it's a collaboration type of thing. And when I work with children, I'm a client-centered play therapist. So I let them have the complete floor of, what they want to like bring to session. So I'm very client led. I believe that the clients are the expert, and I'm just simply here to assist them with their healing process because they know the answers, and the way that they get there is for me giving them the space to get there. So that all pops up in the way that they interact in session, how play is communicated in session. Like, is it negative? Is it aggressive? Like, is something happening? What colors are they using to draw? Like, all those things are just super important as we're going through like a traumatic experience. And kids are so insightful, so they know more than, sometimes what people may believe from them. So we're picking up off of everything. So recognizing the triggers, recognizing what is defined as trauma for them, and what are some resources and tools that can help them outside of session, and just always encouraging them to understand. Shout out to Dr. Jeff. Therapy is a slow race, not a fast twerk. So, a traumatic experience changes the way that we think cognitively. And that's a fixated behavior, that's a fixated thought. And so that takes a lot of time and a lot of intentionality to change that, to heal. So it's just a work in progress, and just like making them like, encouraging them to normalize that some days like healing can look like, okay, we're doing great. And then it looks like this, and then it looks like that, and it looks like that. And oh my gosh, I had a smell and I thought I've healed from this years ago. So just like normalizing that trauma it will stick and it will go, and we can't take away trauma. We can only add value to what can be helpful for us. And so that is a huge thing that we do, with like how I do like trauma, like exit strategy plans, is just like normalizing that it's a part of us, but it's not all of us. And it's not all of what you've experienced. There's resiliency there. And once we get over once we're able to process what caused us the hurt, we're able to heal as we process and move forward. And what does that look like for them? So just like pouring it back into the client. And then that's when we're able to like understand, like, okay, like there's other things there. Like there's other things that I can do. Like maybe mindfulness do work, or maybe it doesn't. Maybe I need to move my body more. Maybe I need to shout and scream in a pillow for a minute. Maybe I just need to sit in silence. Like whatever the client needs is where I'm like following for them. So that's pretty much what I do. And in terms of like juvenile justice, there's a thing I think that Calvin said is about like empathy. And I think the most important as like clinicians and people that represent the helping professionals is that there's a difference between like showing empathy and then taking over responsibility of the healing process. That is a hard thing to like kind of understand, that they coexist, but they don't like go together. So there's an ethical obligation to assist with your client or to assist with people that you work with, but it's not your responsibility to take over. And so how we can show up in terms of like creating resources is continuing to do the work and giving your clients and your and the people that you work with just a space to heal, and what that would look like for them. And just also for us, like doing the work, continuing to do research. Like learning is constant. Learning is ongoing. Counseling is constant from the therapeutic lens. There's always new things to learn. There's always new interventions that could be helpful. So just continuously doing the work and showing up as we can, like showing up in schools, like creating some mental health resources in schools, like going to the jails, creating some mental health interventions there, collaborating with people that do the work, in terms of like social justice, like advocating, and things of that nature. So just doing all those things and creating such like a well-rounded environment for your clients is really helpful as they navigate through the strategy plan. That's helpful.
And Dee, I wanted to add something. You triggered something in me, and I knew that this was going to happen, about vicarious trauma too, right? So
Yes.
you don't even have to be the one firsthand experiencing the trauma. You can hear about the trauma or see the trauma on these things and experience like you're there. So it's important that we work in tandem with each other. I'm going to be quiet.
Absolutely. Thank you for that. And we're all like they like to say like therapy can be isolating, being a therapist, but it's a big cloud. Like mental health professionals, like we work together, like we're a unit. So it's just really important that if you don't know the answer, to assist with your client or to assist with the individual that you work with, you ask questions. You don't have to know everything. So if I know I'm working with a family and it's like, oh, like there's a lot of family history there that's creating a strife with my client, I'm going to Calvin. I'm like, Calvin, please help. Or if I know my client loves yoga and she really enjoys, or he really enjoys it, they really enjoy that. Like I need to learn a little bit more about what that looks like in terms of healing. So like doing the work, constant learning can be really helpful.
Yeah, well said, B. All right, Blair. Last but not least, my favorite dancing therapist. So, for those who don't know, um, I don't know how often you go live or if it's daily or not. It looks like it's daily, but I enjoy watching you just have fun and interesting enough. D had talked about movement and like doing what you have to do to
Yeah.
get to transition energy and move through it and around it. So tell us your practices and what are you seeing in the work as well.
I do want to make a after D was saying something about mindfulness, since I do DBT with borderline personality disorder patients, I had to kind of, I won't say redefine, but explain it in a different way to them what mindfulness is also. Because everybody, I can't sit and meditate because sometimes silence is very loud, right? So that's not going to work for me. So I look at it more as increased self-awareness, because it's hard to manage if you don't know what certain things feel like through you, so it's more so, and that can be very uncomfortable, right? So I just thought about that when you mentioned mindfulness, because I preach that too many times. It's like it's ridiculous because I do group every day. I mean, every week, twice a week. But and also too, as everyone was talking, I was just thinking like little nuggets I wanted to share. So yeah, well, I'm gonna start with this. Also too, I always teach also in DBT the importance of like 3 states of mind is reasonable mind, wise mind, that's the middle, of course, and emotion mind. And I use that with myself as I try to provide balance in my life. Cause I'm not one of those therapists where I can just tell you how to do, because anybody can pick up a book and learn something and reiterate it. I'm gonna try to practice what I preach so I can come off more relatable. And like if I'm telling you how to do it, it's more than likely I done practiced it, that it could work for you, right? So I try to be truthful, in my practices. But anyway, those 3 states of mind, I feel like for me, if I'm able to identify if I'm an emotion mind that's typically impulsive, you're not as effective. And I always preach that it's better to be more effective than right. It preserves the long-term goals. And that's where we're able to maintain the progress we do make, is being more effective. But in cases, sometimes in emotion mind too, it is benefits to it. Basically, the positive emotions, right? We want to embrace the happiness we feel in that moment. Now, with reasonable mind, is not beneficial if you use that in a relationship standpoint, in a personal. You're coming off cold, because reasonable mind is all about task focus. Feelings are not important. But it's very important when you're kind of trying to complete deadlines, maybe. For a person that's building things, you don't want anybody building something and they're in emotion mind. You want to be in reasonable mind in that moment. So, and I always tell people too, your states of mind can change from the time you wake up, while you're at work, until the time you go home. Just recognizing where you're at so you know how to be more effective in that state of mind that moment, right? So that's my big thing, how I'm struggling with balance, if that's the thing, like we said, because I'm a single mom of 2 boys that's trying to model to and trying to pour into them, because I don't want my kids to get the deficit of mommy, I was being busy. So I'm trying to make sure because if I'm depleted, it's going to directly affect them. I'm listening to you guys, I'm taking in things because that's a challenge for me now, trying to balance it all because my life changed quickly last year where I had to try to balance everything, because if I fall, everything around me is going to fall. And that's a big weight to carry. And I didn't know what that looked like for a while. So it's kind of like, oh, this is new territory. So it's a challenge, but with me, pouring into myself is a big thing. I try to find spaces where I'm going through financial struggle. So it might not be going out buying myself something retail therapy. It could be more so about what I'm digesting through my gates, what I'm reading, what I'm listening to. I'm big on frequency because certain music can bring up certain emotions. So I'm big on not listening to certain things. Because these day and ages we listen to we don't really pay attention to the context of the music. It's just either real catchy and we try to figure out why we feel this way. Is what you're kind of digesting and don't know it. So I'm big on music therapy. I love dance, as he said. That's my outlet, is to move it out a little bit. It makes me feel good. And also it's physical activity. So that's kind of like, you get the best of both worlds with that. But I'm not a long talker, so I'm pretty brief. But that's basically about it. I think of, unless anybody have anything to ask me.
Yeah, so I'm just gonna so I want to encourage the folks out there to put your questions in the Q&A, and this is just for everybody, and whoever wants to take a crack at it. So we have in our coalition um a wide range of folks from different walks of life. So we have formerly incarcerated, we have folks that are like legislative experts, me just kind of a grassroots organizer and an artist, but pretty much the wide range of who we are as a people. We're definitely not a monolith, but we're particularly coming off of a long or all of our legislators sessions are intense. This is why we kind of placed this particular session here. But what would you say for those of us coming off of this is a 4-month stretch, and a lot of us have been working on justice issues for several years. How would you recommend maybe detoxing or transitioning and finding some rest after something very intense, that went on for several months or years? There were some wins, some things that did get across, but always a battle and a lot of resistance, and not everything was won. But just kind of any thoughts around advice you could share for us in this work? And just unmute if y'all feel moved.
I'll say I'll start. I'd like to say find your place. Know who you are. Know why you're doing what you're doing, and make sure you have the capacity to do it. And and the reason why I'm saying that is because I've been on the forefront. I've been at the front of the protest. I've been arrested in Kentucky, for protesting, on behalf of Breonna Taylor. It's a lot. It's a lot. And I had to understand that being on the front line, I don't have the patience of Job. So that was not what worked for me, right? It felt good, it felt empowering on the outside, but when I got home, I brought that home. I brought that home with me. And so being an empath, and Dee, I love what you said, and I wrote this down in reference to therapists, because I think this applies to all of us, and especially empaths, to know how to show empathy, but don't take over the healing process. And see, I don't have that balance. And because I don't have that balance, I had to find different ways, right, to give back. So my way of giving back now is when people call me, they need me to share a post, they need me to pass out flyers, they need financial donations. They need me. Again, I'm big on relationship equity. I'm connected to a lot of people in the community. They need me to make phone calls. I'm making the phone calls. I'm making the connections. I can put the events together, but I don't have the mental and emotional capacity to be in the front line. And then when I come home, I'm damaged goods. I'm broken, and it's taking me months, right? Not days. It's taking me months to get this thing off of me. So what I would like to say, although, you know, again, things are slowing down now, actually sit down and think about your role and your placement. And if you have the capacity to do what you're doing, and if not, find what your thing is and being able to help, because some help is better than you burning yourself out and not being able to give help at all. So that's my advice.
Yeah. Anybody else?
I did
I
want to
see it.
add something. I'm sorry I took my camera off because my kids acting crazy and I'm moving all over the place. So, because you said something about finding out who you are, what's your purpose. I realized that when I ask some of my patients, especially when I first meet them, building rapport, when I ask them who is so and so, that's like the most difficult question they can ever answer. It's so loaded. And then it kind of like they'll go and spill on me. It's like I always call like diarrhea of the mouth. They just spill. So when I ask them, well, who is so and so? Who are you without being a mom, a dad, a sister, a friend, a cousin, an employer? Who are you? And they can never answer it. And so I always start from there, because when your kids grow up, they're going to live their own life. If you change jobs, they're going to replace you. If when you go home at night, you don't have those roles. So who are you after those roles are not on you right then, that moment? And that is so loaded. I even ask myself that question sometimes because I got lost in motherhood. And sometimes we get, I guess, swallowed in roles that's forced upon us, if that makes sense, because of our circumstances. So I guess acknowledging all of that is the beginning of finding your sense of self and being open to it, because you're not going to like the answer to it possibly when you sit back and think about it. Giving yourself grace, that's the big thing. You got to give yourself some grace, because I always tell people that therapy is an ugly but beautiful journey. Get beautiful. It gets really ugly for a while. However, long term, it is some beauty in it.
Well said. Well said. All right, I do have another question, unless anybody else wanted to chime in. Very good. All right. So like in our barbershop conversations, one thing that comes up a lot is like folks coming home, like reconnecting with their families and having a support system. So maybe what are some I guess if folks are coming home to from a from a challenging situation, and then have to like re-enter at all levels, not just the community, but directly, with loved ones, and maybe sometimes the family situation, is what it is or was what it was. Um, what would you say to folks trying to find um, that support system, or to re-anchor, to a bloodline sometimes, which is why when I do check-ins, sometimes I say like to say your chosen family as opposed to like maybe your relatives. But maybe Calvin, if you could lead off, and then anybody else that wants to chime in.
I was like, oh, he's coming to me. I got it. What the first thing that I would say is that as a family therapist, I believe that when change happens in a family system, everybody has to make the decision to do something different. And a lot of the times we get stuck in these old stories and want to go back into our story. And it's hard for us to allow the story to evolve. A lot of the times I also see where we unintentionally or intentionally shame people to do the things that we feel as though is best for their lives versus allowing them to evolve. One of the things that I always say is that the things that you feed will grow. So if you are feeding yourself different things, then of course you will grow. But and when I shouldn't have said different things, but healthy things, and that's going to look different. One of the things that Chantilly had put down there, she was talking about, like, I think it was some type of sound healing. For me, I do like Reiki readings and healings and sound bowls, and that's really fulfilling to me. Now, my family doesn't understand it, but it isn't for them to understand. And just because they don't understand it, that doesn't mean that I am shamed for it, right? I stand in confidence with it. Um, Another quick story too. So there's this big man in family therapy. His name is Murray Bowen, and he was doing a lot of research on schizophrenia and psychiatry. And what he was finding is that these people who had these symptoms of schizophrenia were coming directly from their family systems. But when he would work with them by themselves, they would get better. But as soon as he would work with them, another member of their family then started presenting with symptoms of schizophrenia. So I say all of that to say that we have to be very mindful of what we birth in our families intentionally and unintentionally, and allowing people to grow and evolve and move as their spirits allow them to grow and evolve and move. Sometimes we want to get stuck or want to get stuck in an idea versus moving forward. We all have forward motion. Let's let people move and grow.
Yeah. All right. I'm gonna pass it to Melinda with a different thread, but anybody else want to speak to that? We good? All right. All right. So Melinda, uh, as far as I know, most of us in this work, we don't sit still probably until it's time to go to sleep. And then and maybe we don't get the best rest and et cetera, et cetera. But um, for those of us maybe who want to figure out, learn yoga, meditation, and just some practices, what would be just some beginner steps that we could take to maybe to grow into it?
Well, I would say it's not really a complicated thing to start. I know that, well, shoot, I could say at the school that Chantilly teaches at, they do offer yoga classes in the evening twice a week. But as far as like getting started, I know sometimes people have a difficult time with meditation. And so when you think about meditation, you're thinking like you're just sitting there and it's, but it's not always that. For me, with my meditation, sometimes because I have anxiety, my thoughts are all over the place, right? So if you're the type of person where you can't sit still, and I believe that was Blair that said, sometimes the quietness is not a good place to be. It doesn't necessarily have to be, meditation doesn't have to be about being quiet. Sometimes meditation is about being focused. So sometimes I'll sit and you don't realize how difficult it is. Just lay in your bed and challenge yourself to count to 100 slowly. And while you're counting to 100, don't allow yourself to think about other things. So sometimes I'll try to count to 100. I start thinking about, well, what am I going to eat tomorrow? Or I got to finish this tomorrow, or what I didn't finish earlier today. Well, once I start doing that, I have to start all over again. No, Melinda, you didn't stay focused on that one thing. So right, meditation is about being focused. And there's no right or wrong way to do it. It's just do it. Again, when I do facials, when people come in, and I consider this a part of meditation. Hey, I need you to, we'll talk, ha 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 ha. But now guess what? I put my hands on their shoulder. Guess what? I need you to be quiet. And then this is what we're going to do. I need you to take 3 deep breaths in. And when you breathe in, I want you to breathe those bills in, breathe those bills out. We need to let it go. whatever drama you had, I need you to breathe it in and then breathe it out. And so meditation is also about focused breathing. So I think that we don't need to make it complicated. As far as yoga goes, it's pull up a video on YouTube. YouTube is a great instructor. Get the basics. We have time. Are you going to make the time? And that's just the bottom line. Are you going to make the time to do it? And some people, they don't want to make the time. They're too tired to do it. So I feel like if you want to get it done, if you want to do yoga, if you want to do meditation, no matter how busy you are, you're going to make the time to do it for yourself. And this, again, we talked about self-care. This is about making you a priority and prioritizing yourself. Because if somebody called you with the tea at 11 o'clock at night, you're going to answer the phone and you're going to entertain the tea. But you can't take time out to make sure that you're mentally sound. So I would just say make the time and don't turn it into something that's big and difficult. Start with the small things.
All right, well said. So we are getting on time. I'm gonna ask y'all to give a one-word checkout of how you're feeling, and then I'm gonna pass it to Nikki for some closing words. So Melinda,
Empowered.
Calvin,
Hopeful.
Chantilly,
Present.
D,
Grateful.
Blair,
I'm gonna have to steal Melinda's because I do feel empowered. Yeah, I'm gonna have to.
all right. All right, Mo, you still with us? Poetess?
Yes, I
What's your word?
am refreshed.
Refresh. All right, I want to give you all a heart shout out just from all the ways y'all have shown up for me throughout the years. Blair always being a blessing, as a youngster, and now to see you grow, and blossom into who you become and still becoming. Honored to know all of y'all in this work, and I'm still gonna be leaning on y'all for advice as I, walk this justice journey myself. So give thanks for all of y'all. Folks out there, if anybody wants to get connected to anybody, you can contact me at the Deep Center, and I'd be glad to forward the information to you for some other information. So without further ado, I will pass it back to Nikki.
Thank you so much, Amari. And I just want to thank all of our great panelists and experts for joining us. I feel refreshed. I feel all the words that everybody shared. Amari, if you could just drop in the chat our website information, how folks can stay engaged with us following through the rest of this year. www.justicereformpartnership.org. As I stated earlier, this is our final Talk Justice Tuesday for the legislative part. We will continue to have our Talk Justice Tuesdays throughout the year. We'll take a small break and take on some of the great advice and best practices our experts gave us tonight of how to refresh and stay recharged. We're just taking a pause right now. One of the things I would like to just share that just taking care of ourselves starts with us, and however way you want to show up in this space, as far as mentally, physically, and the foods we take in our body. We had a lot of great information. We will share out this video for those of you all who weren't able to join us live. We'll share out the recordings as well as the rest of our recordings throughout the series as well. We will have another Talk Justice Tuesday in May, and we'll take a short break for the summer to rest and recharge for ourselves. So we want to thank you all for joining us. Again, thank you for our experts and our great panelists for tonight.